We are live, and Brad, I know you like to dance, right?
Sure.
You're into the dancing,
When no one's looking.
when no one's looking. Well, somebody's got to look, right? Somebody has to look at us dancing. But happy Saturday.
Oh, thank you. Oh yeah, and I love that picture that you sent me of the thug version of me. That was
Yeah, check it out. I think I posted it on
Oh, did you? Thank you so much.
I think I posted it on Instagram, so go check out the thug version of both of us. I think we have our latest rap album, gangster rap album, coming out soon.
It's a real banger.
2026.
As my son says.
Yes. Wow, your son is talking hipster already?
No, not that one. Not the one you're on. The slightly older one.
Yes. Too funny. Happy Saturday, everybody. Welcome to the Scare of Scuttlebutt podcast live edition. My good friend Brad. How's it going?
Did you have a good Christmas?
I did. Not a lot was done because that was by design. It's the first time I've had Christmas off in a long time. I usually work. So that's very good. Very good. We woke up late. We had breakfast late. We lounged around, watched a little TV. We do Hanukkah during this time of year as well. So a little Christmas, a little Hanukkah, and blessings all around. How was yours?
Indeed. Good. How's the weather been up there? It's been snowing?
No. We got one dusting, and then it's been really, really great. And actually, I think the temperature is going to start to creep up, like in the low 40s.
Oh wow!
Less than freezing for sure. So I'm looking forward to that. I don't really like
up to the low 40s. Wow.
Yes, yeah,
slightly different than down here.
Yeah. Are you guys getting snow down there?
No, we got a bunch of rain on Christmas.
Yeah,
it's rain all day.
But that's too bad. But I know I'm eager to talk to you about Skeleton Crew. I know you texted me the night of the release, and looking forward to hearing.
Actually, we watched it on Christmas morning. Yeah, I forgot it was on Tuesday, and then woke up to it on Christmas morning. It was actually, considering how much I liked the episode, it was a nice way to start off Christmas.
Sure. I how many times have you watched it already?
Just once. My sons are here, and we're gonna watch them all again. So.
Yeah, that's cool. Cool. I watched it twice. The first time on earlier in the week, and then the second time on Christmas as well, just to kind of get a little more insight.
There's a lot on this one.
There is a lot, and we will talk about that. We'll wait for folks to come on in the chat. Thank you very much for hanging out with us. Let me push some buttons, and we will continue our discussion about Skeleton Crew, episode 5.
This podcast is a member of the Red 5 Network. For more Red 5 Network podcasts and content creators, visit bio.link/Red5.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
Excellent. Brad,
I
you
assume
happy?
You watched Empire Strikes Back on Christmas as well, since it has all the...
It's a Christmas movie. Yeah, it's definitely a Christmas movie, for sure. Little Empire Strikes Back goes a long way on Christmas, and on any day of the year, I think Empire Strikes Back goes on. You know what I learned? Speaking of the trilogy, the original trilogy, I learned something. Maybe something that I didn't know, but maybe I did know it and I just blocked it. But yeah. So somebody had posted on Twitter a shot of some of their old Empire Strikes Back and Star Wars Burger King glasses. Remember those?
Yeah.
I mean, the original ones. I'm not sure if
maybe I've only seen the reproductions, but
yeah. But so I've got a couple of sets that I've been wanting to, really love to like make a display and display them. So, I've talked to you a lot of, instances where I feel like I want to sell a lot of my Black Series action figures just to kind of make room for a lot of the vintage stuff that I have. But one thing that I did not know is those old Burger King glasses are super, super dangerous. They contain an exorbitant amount of lead if you drink out of them. And I guess there's some people that have gotten lead poisoning back in the day from them, but I don't drink from them. But
well,
I didn't.
My
I
wife
didn't
was
know.
asking me what I want to do with mine because I think the ones I got were the original ones that when we were thrifting. Now I think that settles that. I think I'll just display those.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was looking at it, and I did do some research, and I guess the paint on the image, not the glass itself, but the paint on the image.
Late 70s, early 80s, they love the lid. And everything.
So yeah, that kind of surprised me. I was like, wow. Huh. So don't drink from them, guys.
Yeah, I mean the paint's on the outside. You're fine.
You're fine. But yeah, absolutely. So fun stuff. Again, we are live here on Saturday and talking a little Skeleton Crew. I wanted to get, I was looking up some information on the director, because you look at that list of directors and some of them are really, obviously we're 5 episodes in. They have been some very interesting. We've had some interesting comments amongst ourselves regarding these first couple of episodes. We're really digging the series, but I wanted to kind of take a look at the list of directors and who directed this one in particular, because I'm a kind of a technical guy. So
who was it this time?
It was a gentleman named Jacob Schreier, and I don't want to say he's kind of new, but he's under the Disney umbrella. He's a director that is going to be directing Thunderbolts, the Marvel movie. So he's in there.
I can't believe they're making a Thunderbolts. Okay.
But he's kind of new. He's a little kind of independent. He's a founding member of a Brooklyn-based filming company called Waverly Films. So he's very indie. He's got his roots in independent filmmaking and stuff like that. So, but the reason that I looked is that sometimes I do notice a difference in the directorial style of these shows between obviously the last show that we were talking about was the Acolyte. But now that we have so many shows in the can, as they say, I kind of do see a little bit of a difference between how shots are composed, how characters are framed within the shot, all that technical stuff, that it made me want to take a look at who's directing these episodes. And then this last episode, episode 5, directly, because I really wanted to see if I'm noticing something different than previously, and I think I am. So episode 5 is called "You Have a Lot to Learn About Pirates." What do you think of these titles?
I think the whole thing is fun, man. Like I have a hard time. Like there's small criticisms, but to me, any criticism I have is just stupid little things. I don't have anything major.
Right.
I know we've talked about the music. I think the music is fun. I thought it was fun in this one too, and the directing. I'm glad you brought up the director. I mean, and you said indie, which I had. When the series started, we talked about Goonies. Was this going to be a Goonies type thing? I got a more Goonies feel on this one, and you said indie, and it just made me think of Indiana Jones. I kind of when later on in the episode really had an Indiana Jones type feel.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
yeah,
the whole thing. A lot of similarities, and it's funny because you talk about nitpicks. That I'm not too fond of comedy in science fiction,
even for it's coming.
But
this one, though.
But here's the funny thing. I'm watching this episode, and there are some moments that are clearly meant to be funny and humorous, but I don't know. It's like it was like I was starting to get like upset because there's comedy in here, but then it was so well done that I'm like, forget it. It's so good. It's so funny.
I chuckled like that. Like I don't often like when I'm watching TV. I just laugh in my head. I actually LOL'd a couple times when watching this one. I thought it was funny.
Yeah, your son is teaching you a lot of great hip terms. You LOL'd?
I lulled.
That's hilarious. But yeah, I think I'm starting really to listen to some of the music as well, and the opening scene where we get that wide shot of the office, the processing center, if you will. Yeah. There was some really great music in that. It invoked a little bit of mystery and what do you call it? A little hiding, a little intrigue. cat and mouse. Yeah, intrigue. That's a great word. The other thing too that I noticed, and I think we've noticed this from the beginning, is how many aliens and different alien species that are in this series.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
That was one of my concerns before the show started. Like, how would we recognize this as a Star Wars show? Of course, we saw the suburban neighborhood and suburbia. Yeah.
Are you cool? Are you cool with that by now? By the way,
now I am. Yeah. I mean, there's obviously a point to it. It wasn't just they got lazy with the design of that area. It's obviously now looking at this office, which looks, straight office space. There's obviously a reason for the whole thing. So I'm okay with that. And then seeing the aliens this time, I mean, there were huts this time, taking mud baths. And I think it's just enough Star Wars-y, to be engaged with it. I like it.
Yeah, it's always intriguing. And I had that question up on Twitter a while ago, a couple of days ago, regarding, what it is. And I asked this question, but I think it was misunderstood. I asked, what elements do you require to make a show, feel like Star Wars? And, obviously, our friend Nick, Backyard TARDIS, usually says, he loves to see Jedi and Sith and the Empire. There are some people that are, okay and cool with any story having to do with whatever. Obviously, there was arguments that Andor didn't feel like Star Wars because there was nothing. There were no Jedi. There were no Sith. Obviously outside of the characters that we know. But I feel like anything that is, within the era of Star Wars in that universe could be Star Wars. And I think this is a really great example of really kind of giving us something new, giving us something outside the norm, outside of what we expect. And I know, last week, when Danny was on with me talking about last week's episode, it was, I had said that I mistakenly posted that I know that this series is not geared to me, my age group, but I'm going to go in it with an open mind. But I think that was a mistake. I think this really kind of captures a universal appeal because of the story, because of the characters, because of the situation. And I think, you said it earlier, I think there's enough intrigue there to keep me wanting to come back week in and week out.
Yeah. And, my wife mentioned it when we were watching. We've been watching it together. She's like, this has sort of reinvigorated you as far as Star Wars goes. Like you're like, I am feeling like a kid when I'm watching this show. And, there were so many references. And there's so many nods, and they're dropping so many
Easter eggs,
and hints like Sleemo. They got Sleemo in this one. They got Wizard. They've said Wizard a few times, and it's so cool. So that they're playing in the Star Wars universe. But did you something about this one in particular? Did you notice how many episode 1 references there were in this one in particular? Because Wizard, obviously from episode 1, Sleemo was from episode 1, and I think we'll definitely talk about it here in a few minutes. But what what he says, your focus determines your reality.
Oh yeah.
Straight Qui-Gon
Sure.
reference there. I didn't know if there was some reason in particular why there were so many nods to episode 1 itself.
Well, it's funny because obviously, Aten as a planet has been hidden from the rest of the galaxy. They don't know about Alderaan. They don't know about the Galactic Civil War. The closest thing I think us as audiences can, relate to when it comes to the planet's timeline is kind of like the Old Republic, all the stuff in the, before the original trilogy. And I think episode 1 obviously is kind of like, snuck right in that timeline where they may be familiar with some of the terminology, some of the things that are being presented to us there. So,
because like we don't say a lot of the vernacular that we had in the 80s or 70s, 80s, 90s. So I mean, you might be onto something there. That might
and it's funny
be the
because
last thing they know.
Right, and it's interesting too because I think how many times have we complained or at least heard other people complain that obviously the sequel trilogy, the lack of planning, the lack of vision that they had makes it feel like it's just truncated and off kilter for some reason. But I think if they did go as deep as thinking about that, and it's not us making it up and filling in the blanks where we feel like our speculation is might be the truth. If they went so deep into possibly thinking of that and saying let's do that because it's closer to episode 1, then I think that's fantastic, and I think that's kind of eye-opening.
Yeah, I mean, there was too many for it to be an accident or a coincidence.
Yeah.
So it's either some reference to that time period, or they just believe that kids in the Star Wars universe say those things like, wizard.
Sure.
But Slimo was Hutt, which was, because Anakin spoke Huttese.
Yeah.
In episode 1, and Slimo, as far as I know, was a Huttese word.
Right. And the character that said Slimo was, she obviously, mentioned that she worked for a private client, which we probably think she's working for the Hutts to bounty hunt. But getting back to the kind of the first act of this episode, you've got the father, and I'm liking Wim's dad a lot. I think the acting has been pretty good with not only the kids, we mentioned that a couple of times, but as we get to spend more time with the adults, I think the adults are pretty cool. Wim's dad is cool. Fern's mom, the way that she kind of handles, the droid when, she's kind of, obviously she's in on whatever it is that they're trying to do to get the kids back. But again, just enough intrigue to kind of try and figure out and speculate, like, who is the supervisor? I know there's speculation out there. Is the supervisor human? Is the supervisor another droid? Is the supervisor Kathleen Kennedy? Who knows?
It's probably KK. I mean, has anybody decrypted all the messages that were flashing up on the screen?
Not yet. I'm
crazy
sure
fast. I think that was written in
Arabish.
Arabish. But yeah, it almost felt a little bit like the opening scene of The Matrix. Where Neo's running around the office there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's nice that they keep, going back to the parents and showing that they're, they're worried about their kids and they're
concerned. Right. Yeah.
And they're having their own little development, because it looks like they're used to the same thing day in and day out, and it's showing some character development on their part as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, they're going as far as, trying to get the kids back, but also trying to protect the identity or the location of their planet. It does seem like they don't mean to kind of rock the boat society wise. So, they want to be able to kind of bring their kids back, but keep the location of their planet, secret, continuing. But they're going about it in a way that is risky for them as individuals. And I think that is telling, like you said, it's just parents caring about their kids.
Yeah.
I love, again, we're still on this first scene, but I love the what do you call the hammerhead species? The
Thorians.
Yeah, they're in the background. You can see the spreadsheets on their computers, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
One of the things that I'm really surprised in, when we get into these shows, and I hate continuing to make references to the Acolyte, but sometimes in these shows you get either plot points or little goofy narrative devices that either are stretched out, they become too corny or obvious, and it makes it, it's almost like a little nudge, wink to the audience. But I think this show is handling it quite well. They still do the little nudge, winks, but they are, some of these things are resolved right away. Like, again, going back to the first scene when the dad is trying to steal the data, the encryption codes on that, I guess that external USB type device, and he has to get up and he's hiding it behind his hands, and the droid is like, "What do you have behind your hands? Let me see your hands." And he does one hand at a time. And then the droid, usually the droid would be like, "Okay, whatever," or they'd cut the scene. But the droid is like, "No, let me see both of your hands at the same time." Yeah. So it's funny because they don't stretch out the goofiness. They resolve it right there, and it's logical, and that's what I like.
Yeah, I mean, and you can tell, that part is written for a younger crowd that's going to see that as pretty funny, and I'm good with it.
Yeah. Have you had?
Yeah, like you said, if it had worked, that would have been something else. But it didn't work, so it worked. I don't know what is your take. Let's gloss a little bit over on this. What is your take on I guess this droid society? Somebody on Twitter actually said that obviously the rest of the galaxy is, we understand where society is, but these guys are super separated. Do you feel like the droids, it's almost like, like if you go to the South Pacific and you find some people that think that World War II is still going on, and then you tell them, no, it's been done for decades. Like, do you feel like this society is kind of in that same boat where the droids at one time were programmed to to hide the planet, but now that is no longer necessary, but the droids never, they never received that final programming to free society? I don't know. I got to tell you, I have no idea. But, unlike other shows, which we got to stop comparing it to, I'm actually looking forward, like every, again, this show is showing very well how you do mysteries. It's like with Jod, with, that character. Is he a Jedi? Is he not? What's going on with that Atten? Why does nobody this is how you do it. They're not, it's not focused on that. Right. It's just there. So I'm actually looking forward to finding out these. I'm happy with the fact that I have no idea why it is the way it is, but I'm looking forward to getting those answers in a couple episodes.
Sure. And and I think it's masterfully done by Jude Law. I think his acting is great. I had always been skeptical if he was an actual Jedi or even Force sensitive, but I think this episode really kind of cemented and quelled some of those doubts that I had. I think he definitely is Force sensitive. Either he was trained or he was kind of in the background. Maybe he was like the maintenance guy, but he heard all of the lessons that the Jedi were getting. So I don't know. It's
Right.
it's
What
interesting.
abilities have we seen? Because Amy brought up maybe he was just a magnet. Maybe he has a high-powered electromagnet
Mhm.
in his.
In his
Have we
sleeve or
seen him
something.
do anything besides force
Le-
pulls
force pulls.
or levitating?
He did, he did what Obi-Wan Kenobi did in A New Hope when he distracted the stormtroopers and made them
Oh yeah,
hear
he
a
did do that.
sound.
Yeah.
So, but again, that could have been planned too. But he did tell the truth, and he says, "I never said I was a Jedi."
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's again, and I think next episode we'll probably get a lot more insight into his character according to him and in
I mean, he's already got
interviews.
what 2 or 3 aliases.
Yeah, more than that. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. So when they're all together, they're back on the Onyx Cinder, and this is when he realizes whose ship it is. And I think it was really cool to kind of see him, discover that or do that self-discovery of like, wow, this is the Onyx Cinder. First of all, it's a kick-ass name for a ship.
And I need to get that Lego set. Because I saw it on the shelf. I'm like, the show's probably going to suck, so I'm not going to get this. Now I have to get that.
Now you got to get it, absolutely. But it's interesting, it's cool, and I think I love the dynamic because when he's talking about the previous captain of the Onyx Cinder, he's just mesmerized. He tells Fern that you don't get the gravity of the situation here, and the kids don't care, and I love that. It adds, I guess, a level of humor, obviously, but the kids just want to get home, and they want to make sure that he sticks to his the deal that he made. It's funny, and now that we have, I keep forgetting the droid's name, Shmi. Yeah, SM-33.
Yeah.
What a great character. One thing, and again, this is, talk about nitpicky. One thing that that bothered me, I think, when The Mandalorian came out, especially the Book of Boba Fett, that they kind of lean a lot. Book of Boba Fett leaned a lot on the Western,
Mm-hmm.
It really seemed to me like they just made a Western and then put Mandalorian helmets on. This one, again, a little nitpicky, but I think they are, really leaning into the whole pirate thing, especially with the way that that the pirates talk, the space pirates, even the droids, I feel like they're going to say "arg" every 3 seconds. So they are leaning into it, and I guess that's by design. I do wish that there was a little bit
nitpicky.
of it is very nitpicky, but I do wish there was a little bit of a middle ground where it's like, okay, we want it to be Goonies, we want it to be piratey, but we're not making it piratey.
Yeah, and I was a little confused about the when he was talking about the previous captain, and then later on, he pulls up the holo of the captain. When he was talking about him, I got the impression that he was talking about somebody hundreds of years ago. But apparently it was much more recent because, in the holo later on, he uses the term Old Republic. The captain does. So obviously he has to be post.
Old. Right.
Well, he has to be post prequel trilogy.
Yeah.
If he uses Old Republic as a term, because otherwise he would have just said Republic, but he called it Old Republic. Yeah. So he had to be somewhat more recent than that.
Yeah. This again, last week I felt the same way. This week I feel the same way regarding the action and the movement of story. It's pretty dynamic. There doesn't seem to be a lot of like slow spots. And I really like that because you're trying to absorb everything in the frame, all the shots, all the music, you're trying to take that in, but you're also trying to pay attention to the story to see if you can pick out, anything. I've been watching it with the closed captionings on just to make sure that I don't, miss anything.
Because we're old.
That too.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's pretty fantastic. I think, I said it last week. I do feel that they are also getting a hang of shooting in the volume with some practical stuff, and that there's that balance that you really can, tell that they're getting a hang of it. Special effects wise.
I think this looks much better. I think this looks much more natural than the last couple projects did.
Yeah, and it's more cinematic. I think again, the camera does things that the other shows haven't for a while. And I don't know what that is, whether it's the I guess the style of directing, the people that are brought on as camera people, the cinematographers, but there's a lot of kinetic motion in the camera shots, in the wide shots. They linger a little more, and I've said this before, but these are the little things I think that I personally was missing from some of these Star Wars shows that we don't get enough of, the ooh and the ah factor. Obviously, we understand that Star Wars is a visual world, and I don't feel like we were getting that in previous incarnations. We're starting to. I think it's great. I mean, this series is really surprising me on all aspects. I said,
I thought we'd be painfully talking about it, after episodes 1 or 2. And now I'm just hoping that it finishes as strong as it's been, the whole season. That's all we can hope for. I'd hate to have a bad ending and spoil the whole thing. I don't think it's going to. I think they've, as you said, the directing's been on point. The writing's been on point. So I think it will have a good ending. But if it stays on course, I'm definitely looking forward to rewatching the whole thing already, which is crazy.
Sure. Yeah. And it's funny because you mentioned that you were watching it with your family. So I think this is kind of like the first time that, a lot of families are getting together and just kind of watching Star Wars, which is fantastic for the franchise.
Yeah. I mean, my wife said she wasn't going to watch it with me because I was going to be so negative about it. And here we are watching it together. And
you are very negative.
Normally, realistic more than anything. But we're both enjoying it together, and we both care about these characters and what happens to them.
What's going in? I know we're 5 episodes in. You weren't with us last week, but what are some of the things that have surprised you about the series? About the series, and then about yourself relating to the series.
How much I actually care about the characters.
Okay.
Like this one showed it off very, very well with Wim and the conversation that he had. He's on the ship and he's just, he's crying, he's lonely. And this was the kid from, the first episodes that all he wanted was to go on this big adventure. He's he was playing, Jedi and Sith with Neil, with his friends, and now he's miserable. And basically, like, you got what you wish for. Like, it's not all, lightsaber, fights,
Sure.
not battles, and now he's seeing what it's really like to be out there on your own,
right?
And it's seeing how much you care about these characters. And I think a great parallel that I saw, I don't know, the big green guy that was in this one that they ran into down below.
Mm-hmm.
I think they call the species like Cyclothops or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah,
some weird thing.
He's the giant Mr. Krabs from SpongeBob.
Yeah, basically, Mr. Krabs. But I thought that name was very close to Cyclops. Started with Cy and with Lops anyway. And that made me think of the Odyssey. And I realized that this is kind of an Odyssey that they're going through.
Sure.
There's a lot of parallels there. And, all this, you think you want adventure, to see what's out there. And now all you want to do is get back home.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
The extent to which these kids are willing to go just to get back home. And this might be one of those lessons of you can't go home, or you can never go home, as they say,
or even I'm going to equate it to, Luke Skywalker yearning to go out there on adventures of his own, looking at the twin suns and realizing that the adventure, the adventure really is within you, or it's at home,
right.
be careful what you wish for sort of thing. But yeah, I'm really also enjoying the vulnerability of the kids. Obviously the first couple of episodes we talked about the dynamic between the boys and the girls, but I feel like, I was kind of waiting for Fern to kind of let her guard down. We had last week, we had the episode where Neil kind of, showed his vulnerability.
Yeah, he stepped out.
Yeah, he stepped up and stuff like that. So, we're getting a little bit of that with Wim. One of the characters that I'm, kind of looking forward to, because I think early on they didn't give her a lot to do, but KB seems to be kind of, gearing to get something.
That's
done.
my problem with whenever they make, this is not just Star Wars, but I feel like whenever there's a tech savvy character, they always they seem to be the most boring characters because they're just relying on the tech that they have.
Sure.
But they seem to lack personality to go along with all the tech. And I think that's what she's a victim of right now.
Yeah. I think, hopefully we'll see some of that vulnerability or some of that character development in the next episode. They start to creep some of the stuff in. I like the relationship between her and Fern. And it's, I think they're setting it up for something special. So that'll be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah. I mean, I really hope she does get her a moment to shine.
Yeah. So, we get to, what's the name of the planet? The Pleasure Planet. They're obviously trying to get to
Skull Mountain.
Yeah. Which is, again, it's very pirate. It's very Peter Pan. It's very, Disney-ish.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, but I love that the kids were disguised as the great elders, and
and they're just acting like kids the entire time.
Yeah, and that was the moment of humor where I'm like, oh, should I like this? Yeah, I do, because it's kind of funny.
I'm trying to figure out why. Maybe you can school. Maybe you can educate me. Usually, after a government fails, the currency is normally worthless.
Okay.
So I'm trying to figure out why the old Republic currency is worth so much.
Maybe just the raw material that it's made of.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. I don't know, but go buy Confederate money these days. It's
right.
Not too expensive,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out why it's worth so much.
Yeah. I mean, that's the only reason that I would think. I mean, go check out pick apart a $5 bill, and it's just
it's because we have paper money now. That's why.
Yeah.
It's okay.
But silver ingots. I like that word. It's a funny word.
Oh yeah, ingots. Yeah.
But
I mean, I guess if it's made out of good stuff, I guess that would be it.
And that might be a reason too why when they get into that acid area, they throw in one of those little gold pieces or whatever.
You talked about too piratey. I thought that conversation, I know we might be jumping around here a little bit, but I thought that dialogue was fantastic when it says you have to sacrifice what you love most dearly.
Oh yeah.
And, of course, the first thing I thought of, it's going to be money, it's going to be treasure. But they had a good conversation. They're like, all right, somebody's going to die.
Right.
It's like, no, we're talking about pirates here.
Yeah.
I'm like, that that's pretty slick. I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, getting back to the humor, when Jude Law talks to the kids, he basically he makes up his own language, but it's just funny the way they did it. It's like, no, they, their physiology doesn't allow them for basics, so I'm going to have to translate. And he just goes,
yeah.
That's when I LOL'd.
Yeah, but it's like somebody going to. I mean, it looks like someone going to Disney World, taking their 4 kids to Disney World, and they're all acting a fool.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, getting to new characters and things like that. The bounty hunter, Pocket. I think she was Pocket. Yeah, I think she was a good addition. I liked her eyes, skin tone, kind of very, very trippy. So I'm hoping that we see a lot more of her later. We're obviously in episode 5. This is 8 episodes in, so
I might be a little bit sad when this comes.
I was going to say,
I'm not ready for this. Only 3 episodes left. I'm not.
It's weird too because I know that this series was only planned to do one season. No. But
I'm gonna join that club already.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
if it ends well. If it ends well, I'm just going to put that caveat there.
Sure,
which
sure,
I think
sure.
it will, but
I think it will too. I think it'll be a satisfactory ending. I think it'll be a very interesting ride, especially, you know, after coming out of that other show that we won't mention. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of refreshing. And again,
this
I think
might be the Band-Aid that we needed. It's crazy to say that.
It is crazy to say because, like I said, you know, I was just gonna watch this and say, yeah, that's, you know, it's for kids. It's funny, but
Yeah.
you know, I think obviously the inclusion of Jude Law as an actor really helps it out too, because he brings such, I don't know, a weight to the
gravity to it.
character, and you know, the humor that he's using with the kids is really great. So I'm loving a lot of stuff out of it, actually.
Yeah.
And the kids will be kids jumping on the bed, you know, while Jod is making plans and making sure they don't get killed. But it's,
Did you hear any of that? Yeah.
Yeah. What I say?
Did you hear any of that?
Exactly.
Yeah. I think we've all heard that as parents at one time or another.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, you mentioned that you did get some Indiana Jones vibes. Obviously, you know, so did I. We go into the room where all the gold and the bounty is, and that's a lot of fun. You know, elephant kid in the room. There's a lightsaber in there. What's going on there?
I completely missed it the first time. I missed it. I don't know if I was looking down, looking away, but when he pulled it later on, I'm like, where did you get that from? And my wife's like, did you not see it sitting right there?
Yeah.
I'm like, nope, missed it completely.
Missed it completely. But you know,
whose lightsaber was that?
Right.
Why was it there?
And again, I wish we were really, you know, deep into the Old Republic books and the comic books, because maybe we would have recognized it as one of the characters in those stories.
Star Wars Explained already figured out whose lightsaber was. We'll leave it to him. He'll figure it out.
But you know, like I said, I feel like, you know, before this episode, I didn't think that Jod was Force sensitive, even let alone a Jedi. But you know, he's starting to have all those tenets. But you know, what do you think of the betrayal? You know, later on when he realizes
it was coming, but it still pissed you off. At least it did for me. Like I applaud them though for that. Like, you know, the easy answer is he starts off as a pirate and then suddenly he gets, you know, starts to like the kids, and now he's a changed man, and he's just that's not how people work, you know. That's, you know, you'd love for that to be the case, but more times than not, that's not going to be the case. And you hate to see it, but it's the right thing to do. But at the same time, you could see that he was reluctant to do it.
He was struggling, right?
Yeah. I mean, he said, you know, just yield, just say you yield. Like, it's like he knows he has to do it.
Yeah.
And I think he is still doing it for the benefit of the whole group. I think he just recognizes that obviously the kids don't have what it takes to, you know, to do what needs to be done to get them home.
Sure. But why? Let me ask you this: why go that route instead of just, you know, sticking to his agreement with the kids? Why go the route of taking over the ship and putting them in doubt just to go back to At-Aten? Even if it was just to go back to At-Aten to plunder and try to get you know, all the money, versus, you know, what Fern said, to get a fair reward.
Yeah, I think it's hard to say. I mean, the obvious answer is, you know, get the reward on the kids if and when they make it back to the planet. But there may be another reason that he's not saying why he did it that way. And I think another part of it is Fern is pretty resolute. You know, I don't think she would have just given it up willingly. Being a ship captain was really growing on her. Mm-hmm. And I don't think she would have just voluntarily given it up. So I think that plays into it as well.
Yeah. And again, I like Fern and how KB, you know, they're teaming up to almost be Captain Kirk, Mr. Spock scenario. They work together on this thing.
Now, we talked a couple weeks ago about the possibility of force sensitives, and you were like, nah. Now, after seeing this one, you still have that same opinion?
That's tough too, because I remember saying that I wasn't too crazy about having force sensitives just willy-nilly all over the galaxy. And I guess it would be the same argument as some folks are kind of sick and tired of finding out that there were Jedi that survived Order 66. It kind of makes Order 66 not as impactful or important as we were led to believe. So I think it's a little bit of that. But I think in concept, I don't mind that there are Jedi that survived, because obviously, Yoda was hiding, Obi-Wan was hiding. You can make the argument that, whoever was able to listen to Obi-Wan's message during Order 66 to stay away, did so and were, hiding successfully. But, obviously, because of my connection with this guy behind me here, I do feel like, we are missing a little bit of a fill in the blank or fill in the gaps of Vader chasing some of these hidden lost Jedi down with the Inquisitors and killing them and getting rid of them. And I know it's a big galaxy and they might have, fled to different corners of the galaxy, but I'm kind of on the fence about force sensitives that are just kind of willy-nilly walking around and using the force for purposes. It's obviously that this guy's not a Jedi. He's not using his powers for good. He's more so like, what's his name from Obi-Wan, just using it to his advantage. Tapping into the force. But we obviously, when we get deep about using the dark side for good, I don't know where you stand as far as Jod using the force for his own purposes and not for a grander purpose, like saving the galaxy in some way. How are you feeling about him being selfish about the use of the force?
Well, I mean, to me, it looks like he's almost reluctant to use it. So I'm okay with it. I think, that's not his go-to. Using his force abilities is not his go-to, to get out of situations. He's not doing the acolyte thing of Jedi mind tricking every person he comes across or trying to erase people's memories or crap like that. I think he only uses it when he has to, which I think is fine. And talking about the writing being, done right. I love that when was Neil tried to wield the lightsaber, I think it was, and I love how he couldn't do it. It's they're not just doing the he grabs a didn't do the Ray thing where the first time he grabs it he knows how to use it.
Right.
He just fumbled around with it and completely screwed it up. I think that's a good touch.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's good. I think it gives us an opportunity to see all the characters' motivations, and obviously. It was Wim. I think you said Neil.
Was it was a Wim? Okay, yeah.
But you're right. You do kind of. I was kind of feeling a Rey moment where she grabs the lightsaber in the forest, and all of a sudden, woohoo! She can use it. But obviously, he's a kid, it ends on such a great shot, and I'm really, again, just. More intrigue, more curiosity as to how they're going to continue the story. That shot where Wim pushes on the bench and then the secret door comes up and they go down. That was their escape route. We'll see where they come out of. But
come on, that was some Indiana Jones stuff.
Definitely
doing the trap door on purpose to get away. That's some and again, we're invested in these characters, so we actually care. To wherever the hell they went to.
Sure.
It matters.
Yeah. And, again, ending this episode on Jod, using the force to call the lightsaber.
Yeah.
And he he turns it, and then you can see his thumb come out, and then he ignites it. But before the ignition hits, cut to black, but you still hear it.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool. I think they're giving us just enough, to keep us going and keep us wanting more episodes. And I think that for many reasons, this show is doing something right that the previous show did not.
Yeah. I mean, we care about the outcome, where we don't have all the answers, and we're okay with not having the answers, and we're curious as to what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
we don't necessarily want it to end in 3 episodes. Like, I'm really loving this show.
Yeah. One of the things that I really, and we'll give our ratings in a couple of minutes, but the episodes have really been consistent in not only quality, but there's just something about this series. Sometimes you get, you're watching a series and one episode could be, I rate this as a 7, and this one as a 2, and this one was okay, and this one was fantastic, but then we go back to a 1. This series really so far has been pretty damn consistent, at least for me. And I see a lot of people in the chat talking about it, and I think it's been consistent for a lot of people.
Yeah, I wasn't able to talk last week. Last week was probably my lowest rated, but still, at least a 6 for me. And I think if I go back, or when I go back and rewatch it, it might actually go a little bit higher than that. But yeah, between 6 and, I'll tell you in a second what I give this one. Like, that's the signs of a really solid show.
Yeah. And again, that's one of the reasons I wanted to see who directed this episode in particular. And I was surprised to see, because, you look at the list of directors and they've got some really great credentials. Yeah. And seeing this one, who may not be like a top tier director of things that we've heard of in the past, but the guy's got some talent. And
he's got a bright future.
Yeah.
I think he set the bar high with this one.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's get to rating this episode. Star Wars Skeleton Crew, episode 5. You have a lot to learn about pirates. How many ARGs out of 10 would you give this episode, Brad?
I told you right away as soon as I saw it. I texted you, Merry Christmas. This one is a 9 for me.
Wow, that's really high. That's probably the highest score that you've given.
That is the highest. Yeah, I can't find, like, again, where I'm sure we're going to get called chilled. There's not even a lot of that negativity going on right now. I think people are just genuinely, and for the most part, enjoying this show.
Yeah.
I'm just not able to find things wrong. So, like, I'm going to stop, just driving the scores down on a whim, so to speak. I thought the humor was there, the action was there, the music was good, the direction was good. It was a great adventure. Characterizations great throughout the whole thing. Gave it a 9.
Yeah, it's again, I'm kind of in shock at how much I'm enjoying this series. Even though I'm an old dude, but I think I think this series really kind of appeals to the young at heart, and I think we're all young at heart. And I think you said it earlier. I think this is a good Band-Aid for the fandom. I think a lot of people obviously are looking for things to hate on, but I don't know. I find it very difficult to really genuinely say, no, this is crap, or no, I don't like this or this. I mean, me. I think even the humor was well placed and well done for a show. So I'm not going to give it a 9, but I'm going to give it an 8.5 because I really, really enjoyed it. So it's an 8.5 for me. I'm looking forward to seeing how it ends, but I'm looking forward to seeing the next episode. We get to see, I wonder if we get to see Jod use that lightsaber now that he has
That'd be so cool.
But so, yeah, I mean, that'll be interesting. One last question for you. Did Jod see the lightsaber before Wim used it? Because if he did, it almost seemed like he was just not interested. And like you said, if it were the case that he uses the Force kind of begrudgingly, then it would make sense that he sees a lightsaber, a weapon of a Jedi, and he's like, yeah, I don't want any part of that.
Yeah, I think he's a pretty aware character. I think, you know, for lots of reasons, he keeps track of everything around him. So I think he probably did see it, but I think he was hyper focused on, you know, getting the data link, that he wasn't concerned about it.
Yeah. Yeah. So absolutely. So we'll see next week, episode 6, whatever that is called. But yeah, awesome. Chat, thank you guys for joining us Saturday night. Any final words on this episode?
Your focus determines your reality.
That's true. That's true. I think, you know, when he said that, I think a lot of eyebrows went up because, like you said, that's a very familiar line. And I think it's more than just fan service. I think it means something.
He quoted my favorite Jedi.
That's,
you know.
Yeah, absolutely. But absolutely, if you guys want to hear, you know, catch up on our reviews of Skeleton Crew, you know, we drop the audio of these live shows the following Tuesday. So you'll hear this one on Tuesday. If you don't want to, if you're not a YouTube person, you want to listen to our lovely voices as you drive to and fro, run your errands during the week. So this will be popping up on Tuesday. But yeah, catch the rest of our episodes. Look through our catalog. We Brad and I love to talk deep stuff when it comes to Star Wars and other geek stuff. Look for us on your favorite podcast app, or tell your smart speaker to play the latest Scare Scuttlebutt podcast, and you'll find us there. We are part of the Red 5 Network. Head on over to bio.link/Red5 and check out the rest of the team over there. Interviews, reviews, discussions, and more. Only here on the Red 5 Network. Look for the hashtag powered by Red 5, and you'll see a lot of our friends and our cohorts. Brad, until next time, what do you have to say?
Happy holidays, Happy New Year, and that's the Scuttlebutt.
Absolutely. One last question: are we? Is this going to be our last show for the year, or do we think we have time to maybe drop a random discussion before December 31st? I don't know. We'll see.
Maybe. Well, you talked about getting some fan questions, so if we can get that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And speaking of fan questions, if you guys want to drop a voicemail to us, we can kind of listen to it and then react, maybe do a little recording, a little show. Head on over to or pick up your phone and dial 773-234-8659. Leave us a voicemail, talk about some nerdy stuff, or leave us a question about anything that we talked about tonight or in any of the previous episodes. We'd love to kind of see where your heads are at. But guys in the chat, thank you very much. It's been a wonderful Saturday night. I'm glad that you guys spent it with us. It's always sunny on Scarif.
And that's still the Scuttlebutt.
Absolutely.